Hello, everybody. Good morning. How are we all? Welcome to another episode of Living Imperfectly Perfect Coaching Journaling Session. How is everybody this morning? I know it's been stormy over here in the UK. It's been absolutely wild. We are so not used to it. So there's train cancellations, aeroplanes struggling to land, all that kind of really good stuff happening over the weekend, which was mad. Anyway, how are you all? Please let me know. Hello to anybody watching this on YouTube later on. Please feel free to journal along. As I've already said, this is your session. Use it however you wish. Um, I am just going guided by what I would find useful, and I hope you find it useful as well. So it is early on a Monday morning. Why? Because journaling sets us up so well for the week ahead. We get to journal, we get to reflect, we get to know our own resilience, which is what we're working on today. Resilience after trauma and where you get your strength from after trauma, which is a really interesting topic. Because not many people know, but when you've been through trauma, you sometimes get landed with feeling low, feeling drained, feeling a bit empty and disconnected, which is perfectly normal. So for a trauma survivor, you might be wondering where you get your strength, where you get your resilience, and that is exactly what we're covering today. So if that is you, then this session is for you. Also, I would recommend this session for any friends, family members of trauma survivors, as it is crucial that you understand what they've been through as well. So let's get started. Once you have been through trauma, you're left with very often two different outcomes, and that is linked to the central nervous system. Now, when the central nervous system is in the on position, that is when you are left with the flight or fright mode. When you are left in the fright or flight mode for too long, that can lead to anxiety, it can lead to CPTSD, and it can lead to PTSD as well, which can leave you feeling on edge, it can leave you with flashbacks, it can leave you with hot flushes, it can leave you with gut problems, and on top of all the mental health problems, which is what people don't realize. A lot of the time, trauma leads to physical symptoms as well. Or your central nervous system could be in the off position, in which case depression is quite common, and also feeling disconnected from where you are. So not present at all, basically. So how can we tackle that? Journaling is one of the ways that you can tackle that. And also, it feeds into the fact of, where do people that have been through trauma get their resilience from? Where do people with trauma get their strength from? And that is simple. They get it from their experiences. It's their experiences which sadly give them resilience and give them strength that not many people around have. So don't feel down if you've been through trauma. This is where trauma can become a perfection instead of an imperfection. This is the secret to finding your strength and finding your resilience. And these journaling prompts today are hopefully going to help you along your way, as well as they are ones that I would use as well to help me, because I've been right where you are now. I know how it feels to go through trauma, to go through it independently, and wonder where that leaves you afterwards. So, as I pop up the journaling questions this morning, well, journaling prompts, I should say, they will come up on the screen, but I will read them through. I will talk about them a little bit, and then I will give you a little bit of time, not too much. Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, pause it if you are journaling along. And maybe even come back and watch this twice, just to get the majority of the use out of this video, because it's going to be crucial for you. So let me get my journaling prompts up, and hopefully this lets me copy. Yeah. There we go. So, which memory shows you had the most resilience? Now, going back over trauma can be so difficult. So, I'm not asking that. I am simply asking, when you went through a tough time, when did you show then that you had the most resilience? What memory do you look back on which shows you had the most resilience? Now, a memory that comes to mind for me is a time when someone that I was close to took my friends, everything that I knew away from me, and I didn't know it at the time. That was a tough time for me. That was like, whoa, I am sticking with this. But I did it out of protection more than anything. So, yes, that was a time when I was resilient, but not for a good way. A time that I was resilient in a good way was when I was bullied at school. I was a goth. I was into drama. I loved my drama. I looked at it as therapy, and my goodness, it was. I loved it. But I was bullied. But there was one day when the teacher turned around to me and said, I want you to direct. Well, me directing put me in charge of the bullies. I could put them wherever I wanted them. And let me tell you, I had the most fun I've ever had. So when I am feeling down and in that bit of a slump that you get yourself in after trauma, I tend to think back to moments where I was resilient, to moments where I did manage to cope and pull myself out of the rut that I was in. And then I started to realize something started to click, that I wasn't to blame anymore. When you piece things together, this magical thing happens where it fits together like a jigsaw puzzle, and you realize that you are no longer at fault. So that is what I hope today's session kind of reinforces for you. You are not at fault. You are never at fault. And there are light times within the dark clouds. You just have to shine a light through sometimes to find the massive pool of light, but it's there. So anyway, that's the first one. Now, go into here. This one's a fun one, okay? But it can show you a massive, massive part of who you are. So this is more leaning into reconnection and strength. So here we go. So this can be either two characters or one. Again, it's up to you. There is no right or wrong for this. So, which character in books or movies did you admire most growing up? Now, me growing up, I had memories of I used to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I used to watch Scream, I used to watch Scooby-Doo, I used to watch Harry Potter, I used to watch Charmed. One common denominator in all of those, strong female characters. So I used to admire strong female characters. And for me, after I went through the trauma, I looked up to Sidney Prescott in Scream. I mean, if that doesn't scream a good, strong female character, which character does? But I'm interested in which character you admired in either books or movies. And why? Why did you admire them? Leave it in a comment below if you are watching this on YouTube later on. Leave it in a comment below because I cannot wait to reply back to all of these. So make sure you do that. But I will give you a couple of minutes. So if you want to, you can look back over the previous question as well. It is completely up to you. So yeah, I'm going to give you 2 minutes on this one. It's such a fun one, so take your time. Also, if anybody has any questions, please let me know, as I would love to answer some questions too. You can't beat a green tea in the morning, by the way. It's a new me. Those that know me will know that I love a coffee, but to get me started in the morning, it's got to be a green tea. Okay, how's everybody getting on with that question? It's a really interesting one because you get to delve into not only your personality, but the personality of the characters that you admire. And sometimes there are links between. It's so interesting because trauma deepens your personality so much. It gives you quirks because you tend to think that there are next to no risks left for you to take after trauma, and then it just all boundaries and barriers that you ever set yourself go, but the boundaries that you set your other people like increase. It's so interesting after trauma. It really is. Okay, a few more minutes, well, seconds I should say, on this one. Also, if you have liked the stories that I have shared, This morning, there are loads more in my book, Perfectionist Rebel. The waitlist is in the description. And make sure that you follow me and subscribe on here to get updates on the writing process of my book, as I am really enjoying it. It's such a reflective process. It's such a big thing for me to do as I am writing it, and then are literally no holes barred with information that I've put in from my childhood. There are funny stories, there are, of course, serious ones, but they are intermingled with a lot of funny stuff too. So if that is up your street, join the waitlist. It's in the description and on my banner on YouTube too. So, with that being said, let's head to the next one. So, the next one then, what must someone do to make you believe they have their stuff together? So, this can be anything. This kind of feeds into comparison, although not comparison. So you're thinking, when you have the inclination to compare yourself to someone else, what makes you believe they have their stuff together? What makes you feel like you need to compare yourself to this other person? Because that in itself is so interesting, because it can be either they have a family, they seem organized, they have this, really awesome Instagram grid, they are on social media 24/7, they have a job, they upkeep that. What makes you believe they have their stuff together enough for you to want to compare yourself to them? This is a really interesting one, because I think this changes as you go through. This changes. Your answer to this will change depending on what time of life you're in, depending where you're at, personally, professionally, home life. It all depends. So again, I'm going to give you quite a while to work on this. If anybody has any questions in the meantime, please let me know, either in the comments on YouTube or now live. But yeah, let me know, as I'm really, really intrigued. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on this one, so until 7:29. Okay, how's everybody doing? Please let me know in the comments how you're doing with this. This can be so interesting to reflect and to also see if your answer has changed too, as you might have done this prompt before or noticed something similar. So, yeah, this can be so interesting to do. Okay, then, so on with the next one. What negative emotion do you want to rid yourself of, and how can you do that? Let me just show this one. So, this can be multiple things. It can be you've noticed you're in a little bit of a downward funk or spiral. So, it can be depression, or it can be that you've noticed that you're hyper alert and are aware of everything in your surroundings, and you are feeling on edge or have maybe experienced panic attacks, things like that. So, what negative emotion contributed to that, and how, and do you want to rid yourself of it, and how would you do that? So, this gets you thinking more about the healthier habits that you can set yourself as opposed to the unhealthy ones. And this can also lead into positive self talk and negative self talk. So, if you are wanting to do new things but are constantly talking yourself down all the time from wanting to do new things, maybe that can be an example of negative self talk, which can result in depression, anxiety, all that stuff. But it's also important to note that your thoughts are not facts. You don't have to follow them all the time. Sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're 100% right. It's all about distinguishing your thoughts from your gut instinct. So, what negative emotion do you want to rid yourself of, and how can you do that? Maybe when you notice that you're feeling anxious or something like that, maybe you start taking yourself out of that situation that's making you feel anxious. Maybe you start to sit back and wonder, why am I feeling anxious in this situation? What can I do? How can I rewrite what's going on in my head in a more positive way, and therefore make it easier for me to digest? So that's kind of where you want to be going with this last one. And make sure that you write it in a positive way as well. Make sure you write, I can, I am capable of, or I know I can. Things like that, because if you write things as I am, I know I can, it reiterates the statement that you know that you can do those things to rid yourself of the negative emotions that you could have. So that's where we're going with this last one. Enjoy doing this. Follow your thought patterns. And I will give you another 2 minutes for this. So until 7:34. Then we'll regroup. Okay. So, how did you do with that one? That can be so interesting to do, just literally following your thought patterns. And that's my challenge for you this week. Follow your thought patterns. Notice what is real, what is not about your thoughts, and get some tracking in there. Track your thoughts. Don't be afraid to do that. It's so valuable to learn as much about yourself as you can. And that is hopefully what we've done together this morning. So, as a recap, we've covered the central nervous system, how when that's on, you're in a state of on edge, anxiety. Then we've covered in the central nervous system what happens when it is switched off and how that can lead to disconnection, it can lead to depression. And we've also covered how to regulate the central nervous system. What happens when we regulate? We become able to cope. We become able to manage with the symptoms of trauma, which can lead to areas of resilience, which we covered in the first prompt. We covered strength, and we covered tracking your thoughts and how valuable they can be to your recovery. So, as always, thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe to this, like, share, comment, especially when you comment your favorite characters from either books or movies that you admired. I cannot wait to reply to some of those. And I will see you here next Monday. Don't forget, if you want to work with me, I'd love that too. So head to my website, jemmablythe.com, so we can work together. Much love, and I will see you next Monday at the same time.